Welcome to the Ransomed Heart Podcast. This is your host, Craig. Today's going to be, I think, special because joined with me is Rielynn, who is John's assistant, Stacy's assistant, and usually on the voicemail when you call her, it says she's John and Stacy's assistant, and she'd be glad to help you. Oh, and then Craig McConnell if you need to get a hold of him. So Rye.
That's not true.
John and my assistant, Rye, and Stacy Eldridge. And then Alan. Alan is with us here. And we just had a wonderful Friday. What happened last Friday? What was that, Alan?
Well, we had a chance to surprise somebody on our team who happened to be Rye. It was going to be her birthday weekend. It was a few days before. And she thought she was just coming over to your house, Craig, for time with Lori, your wife. And there was a small group of us there. And we had the honor and the joy of just surprising Rye when she came to the door, small group of us. And it was just a wonderful time. And we just wanted to talk a little bit today about what made that time so unique and how small fellowships sometimes can just bring life into people.
Yeah. Rye walks in, surprise! Happy birthday! You were shocked, gal.
I was so shocked. I was so surprised because that's just not part of my story, really, is even a lot of parties and a lot of anything like that. And so there were several pieces that made it so special, but partly was because it was a small group of dear people that I have story with and history with and life with. And I think to just be seen and known and caught off guard with my heart that God just came in with such pleasure.
Yeah, by the time you got there, we were almost done with the barbecued Polish sausage.
Oh my gosh, it was so
guacamole, and those little cup dips, and then some adult beverages.
That Lori had made.
Yeah, Hawaiian punch. But it was so much fun. And we sat down at the table and we just started telling stories and laughing.
Laughing. So good.
A lot of laughter. And, Rye, one of the things you said after, which stuck with me, was in a group that size, there were 7 of us, a lot can happen that doesn't necessarily happen in a group of 20 or 30. So tell me more about that. Like, what is that?
I think just sometimes bigger isn't always better. It can somehow turn into some sort of white noise a little bit. You don't get a chance to talk to all the people you kind of wanted to. And even then, conversation seems to stop at certain surface points just for timing's sake. So with just the few of us, it felt like we were able to kind of slow it down, kind of pause, just relish the food, the drinks, stop and have someone tell a full story and just listen and laugh and interject. And it just felt like time got slowed down a lot more for the night for all of us. Does that make sense? Just drinking in a lot more, I think. And it just made it so beautiful for me.
Speaking of drinking and drinking in, one thing you did, Ellen, which kind of caught me off guard, was there was a subtle challenge to your ability to intake hot sauce. And with gusto,
yes,
you grabbed the bottle of the hottest sauce we had and just started drinking it.
He's a hot sauce drinker.
There was no pressure, though. It was all out of joy.
There was no pressure.
For everyone that doesn't know, Alan drinks salsa, loves to drink salsa.
Yeah, just out of the bottle.
So when somebody says, here's a bowl of hot sauce, I just pick up the bowl and start drinking. Forget the chips.
Yeah. And then Rye tried some of that same hot sauce and kind of went prunish in the face.
I love spicy, but I'm not a hot sauce drinker. Nope, I haven't graduated to that yet like Alan has.
But when we were around the dinner table, and it was Craig and your wife Lori and myself and Kelly, my wife, and then Greg and Gloria and Rye, the really neat thing to me was it just felt reminiscent of, like you talk about, in Revelation, just the feast that will happen. And we'll all be around this table. And it's easy to have that lose, I think, the authenticity because of religious language and
pass me, please, thy plate,
thy cup,
that I might fill it.
Right. And you think, well, that doesn't really stir my heart. But when I think of it in ways of you're in fellowship at this large banquet table, this feast with those who are believers, who live a robust life and where there's joy and laughter, and they know your story and you know their story. And we had table settings, which we won't go into the detail of what the items were, but it was really cool where you knew where your place was, not because of your name, but because it was different by each plate.
Yeah.
And so you got to find where your place setting was. And just that being known and the lightheartedness and the joy of that, where, wow, somebody knows me enough to know this is the symbol that draws me to my place at the table. And then who you're sitting by, the conversation that happens, and then across the table, and the laughter and the jokes. And I think that's a better image of what this banquet feast will be, where you'll have Jesus and you'll have people from your past and you'll have people who you've gone through life with at this banquet table. And it's a joy, and it's conversation unending and food and beverage unending. And that is, to me, a big part of what heaven is. It's this relational. And we got a taste of that night.
We did. I didn't want the night to end. It was so good. Just so good. And I think, again, we have some miles between all of us now and with some life. And I think just in those momentary pauses in my own mind, I was just so grateful, like, for you, Craig, your story, cancer, that, you know, this has been a battle and a joy, and there's been a lot of peaks and valleys. And I think to just pause and be like, you're celebrating with me tonight with life.
Yes.
On my birthday, alive. We're laughing and we're, you know what I mean? And a couple of months ago looked very different.
Yeah.
And so I think it was just almost taking a snapshot of this room, these people, these hearts are here right now. It was heaven. It was heaven on earth. It was the banquet. It was the feast. It was the being seen and just full of gratitude that night.
And singing happy birthday. And speaking of story, boy, your wife, Kelly, she distinguished herself with a story.
So good.
Yeah, I wish we had her here in the studio right now to tell that story.
Yeah.
But you have to see it too, so it's hard just to hear the story.
We need that as a resource. Kelly telling stories on Alan.
Ooh, I don't know.
If enough requests come in, I imagine that we'd have to respond.
No bad ideas.
No bad ideas.
But part of the joy I think we had, Rye, was surprising you, because you're not easy to surprise. And so to keep this under wraps, it was a few days before your birthday too, so you weren't probably expecting it that night. But, you know, when we got to Craig's house, we parked our cars a couple of blocks away, and just that anticipation of, it's not just a gathering, but it's actually going after somebody's heart in a way that makes it all the more fun and exciting, rather than just, we're showing up and we're going to hang out. But to do that together, and for those listening, like, I hope you have a small group of people you get to do those kind of things with, because otherwise, we live in a world at war and there is battle. And that's true. But the greater truth is we live and are called into a story of joy. And, Craig, I think we've talked a little before about how in heaven we get to live in joy and in fellowship. And so if we spend all of this side of our life in battle, we kind of go into heaven not sure how to live in joy, you know, because we haven't experienced it all that much on this side. And so to have that group of people that you can, in the midst of a world that's not easy to live in sometimes, get to still have that theme of joy and laughter, I think that's huge. And so we do want to encourage you as listeners to find that small group of people. It doesn't have to be 30 people. It can be a few couples, a few people.
Yeah, I can laugh by myself in my chair. It really doesn't require a lot. But joy is just so important, how we need it. I mean, my goodness, the grind for so many of us, just day to day, and there's something strengthening about the joy of the Lord. There's something, a sweet intimacy with Him. I will never complain of having too much joy. I don't think.
And I think a portion, I'm such a words of affirmation person as well, but it was so kind to my heart to just pause that night after dinner, and we're sitting around by the fire and have just each person like just say like either what I've meant or what they see over me or what God said to them about me. And I think to just pause and sit in that of just coming from my heart in all these different layers was really sweet. And it was such a kindness of God. And I think it just revives hope. It revives love. It, just digs me all the deeper with these core people that I want to do my life with. So again, and then just leaving with such gratitude for my life and who's in it. So it was something that I'm still swimming in and went home just beaming about, because it really felt like Jesus he did sweep me off my feet that night. So unexpected. Yeah. And it was a real treat.
What was fun, Rye, is for 2 weeks before that, or 10 days or so, whatever it was, Lori and I just felt so led to pray for God to show up for you and for Kelly. We weren't sure why. Well, we knew it was your birthday, so obviously we were praying for you. But Kelly was a part of that, of just, Jesus, we're gathering, in a few nights. I pray you just come in some special way in the midst of all the laughter and the fun for these people. And to see it happen, to see the joy on your face, to see the joy on Kelly's, and her just swooning us all with her story ability. It was great.
It was. And just to name this, because I think is something that really is important, is when God is so much a part of who we are and what we do and just all of life, like it doesn't have to be like it did feel like we were at this banquet table, this feast together, but there wasn't a lot of religious language. And, Craig, you weren't quoting the book of Ephesians for us that night?
No, actually it was Philippians.
Philippians? Okay,
yeah.
Okay. But I mean, just this invitation into we can celebrate Christ and we can be part of this great feast, but part of it is savoring each other, knowing that God is with us. It just allows us to enjoy without the religiosity that comes in sometimes when 3 or 4 people come together and it's, boy, who's going to open in prayer and who's going to read this scripture, and you think, that's fine. That's Lori.
Yeah.
Invite her into the podcast.
Yeah. Honey, I'm going to call you right back. We're doing a podcast.
But that just to say that when there are those times to get together, I think that God smiles on those fellowships without it becoming something other than they can be just simple joy that happens there without it having to feel like there's more required.
I think it does. I didn't feel any pressure to be anything but myself that night, and I don't think any of us did. We were able to just take a deep breath and rest and relax and eat lots of meat and extra gluten, just like I love. I hang around people that do.
It was
so good. And so,
Craig, you're a grill master.
Oh, no. You are a grill master.
Well, I think it was your clown outfit that made it, Helen.
And the juggling act.
Did you like that?
Well, I didn't know who it was for 10, 20 minutes.
Part of the surprise.
Yeah.
Hooray. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I think what you hear in our voices is just some of the carryover joy of being together and having fun and blessing and speaking words over one another and just enjoying the life Christ has for us. And friends, make room for joy, construct joy, find it. What brings you joy? Who brings you joy? Be with those people. Find those things. Ask God to bring joy into your life and to just fill and flood you with joy. It's just huge for your heart and to sustain you in this walk and all that we battle and all that God brings us.
Yes. Sounds great.
Anything you want to add to that, Ryan?
Yeah, for a moment. I think that I'm reeling a little bit still in that night, but I remember it and I'll never forget. But there was a moment everyone else went downstairs, and you and I, Craig, had such a sweet moment of just pausing and saying, I love you so much. Like, thank you for who you are in my life. Thank you for your intercession. Thank you for what you've taught me. Thank you for how I worship now because of you. Thank you for the fathering you've been for me and over me. And I think just to circle around, like, some of those moments are the deepest treasured moments that I will never forget. And those make me rich.
Yeah.
And I'm a very, very rich person. And so beyond the party and the food and the glory and every aspect, those sacred spaces are just embedded in like the living room of my heart. They're so deep. I want to say to both of you, Alan and Craig, like, I love you both tremendously, and thank you for all that you've been in my life. It's a gift.
For more joy, check us out on ransomheart.com. We love sharing the life God gives us with you.